Hey, and welcome to map 26 of TNT Evilution. This is Ballistyx. And the first thing I want to point out is just how gorgeous the opening to this level is. With the gates around the outside here and the sky kind of enveloping the outside there. It's very nice to look at, and it's a very striking introduction to this level. But as we head up the stairs here, there are two bony boys who will jump out at us, and we have to deal with them, as well as their imp friends who will ambush us at the top of these steps. Gotta be a bit careful here because we don't want to die to the bony boys. As we kind of make our way up the stairs here, there are two spectres around this corner. Nothing too difficult. Gonna grab the berserk pack there, and then we're gonna head down here. So this is a very narrow corridor with elevators and some spectres in here just for good measure. We need to beat the spectres if we want to get past this part of the level, and honestly this is probably the weakest part of the level for me just because it's fairly mundane and fairly boring. Like, as you get lower, the lighting sort of drops, which is interesting in itself, but honestly the encounters on these elevators are nothing special. Just use the berserk pack that you grabbed up top. You're better off saving some shotgun ammo for later in the level, because this level does kind of get a bit tense with the ammo amount if you're pistol starting. Just going to take care of these spectres here. You can see the red door is there. We can't enter that right now, but it's worth noting. We can go inside this door though, and we come inside this hell cavern. So it's kind of filled with all of these enemies around all these corners, and as well as that, the floor looks like it should hurt us, but it doesn't actually. So again, this is one of those times where I kind of wish the WODs would stay consistent, but you know, hey, what can you do? We're going to clear out the enemies here. You can see that it's fairly dark inside this cavern, so visibility is not our best friend here, but that's good because it adds a bit of tension to the proceedings here. We need to worm our way around here, and we need to head into this large open space here. You can see the blue key is waiting for us in the middle there. We do need to be careful though, because there are a bunch of hit scanners dotted around. There is a secret here with an light amplification goggles, which obviously we're going to use. It does completely nullify the darkness of this area, so you know, that's good to know. I do like this space. I think this is a very interesting looking space with the white rock at the top, the red rock sort of as the main walls, and then you've kind of got all this darkness and all these different enemy types sort of in this space. It's a very fun arena. We can't go through there yet because that's the yellow door, but we will be coming back here in a bit. There is a door that's opened up here that lets us head back out the way we came. So we are here right now. It is worth noting that what you're seeing here is the light amplification goggles version of this level, so it is pretty ugly to look at, because one thing this level does have going for it, it does have a bunch of atmosphere. So for example, that imp there, usually in darkness, and usually you can't see down there. So I will be showing all this off again as we kind of make our way back through the level later on. But the Hell Knight there is trying to get a jump on us. You can see there's a bunch of lost souls in there. You can't really get in there, and you're not really supposed to be able to see that back wall, but again, light amplification goggles ruin everything. Gonna grab all the bullets there. There's a bunch of imps in this cage here. So when we open this door, that back wall opens up there. As you can see, there's a few enemies there that if you have your back to these enemies, it can be a bit of a nightmare. So it's obviously worth sort of turning around and dealing with them. But this is where the blue door is. So this cave system here, oh look, things are going to get dark again here. So you can see that when you play this level without the goggles on, it is quite tense because you can't really see that far in front of you. So you're kind of relying on the candlelight to kind of make out the silhouettes of enemies as they're kind of walking around, which is pretty nice. I'm not such a fan of the brown walls, as I kind of feel that's overdone in TNT, but you know, we'll take what we can here. So as we head inside here, we head into yet another brown room. We're going to take care of the pinky here with the berserk. Punch, punch. So there are some rockets behind a door there, but it's not really that big a secret because we are going to head in there anyway. So as we head inside here, you can see we're in another vast open space here. Now we want to get rid of that bony boy first because he's probably going to cause the most trouble for us. I do love the look of this area. Like, it does look like a big open area, and the fact that they've let the skybox kind of drop down there really kind of adds to the sense of scale here. But you can see there's a few imps in the lava down there. There is a soul sphere in the wall there, which I'm obviously going to grab. But yeah, I do like this area, even if it is very brief, and it does kind of add to the flair of this level, because you spend most of this level underground, so when you get to see those wide open areas, it does kind of add a bit to the level. Let's take care of these imps here and these pinkies. So you can see a few of these imps don't wake up until you walk past them, so it's worth doing a quick circle of this area just to double check and triple check that you've not missed anyone out. So as we make our way back through here, you'll notice it's a lot darker as we're heading back through, and you can see the like complete darkness. That area is pretty cool. I love how the barrels with the fire are used to kind of sort of light up the room. It's pretty interesting to look at, and you can see that this is definitely a lot darker when you don't have the light amplification goggles on. Wait, we don't need to go that way, we can go this way. There is a nice contrast there between the sky and the darkness, so any enemies who wander into that area are going to stand out, which is pretty nice. We're going to shoot you, and then we come into this weird brick area. Now, I always kind of took this to be like an old temple sort of place, so like a forbidden place, you know, hidden deep in the caverns. I mean, that's the only logical thing I can think of to explain why there's a like brick temple in the middle of this rock formation. But so you can see that a mancubus has dropped down. We want to grab that red key it's guarding. So this wasn't that difficult. The main thing in this area is that if you don't know the mancubus is coming down, it is going to cause you a few problems. There are some enemies as well who are going to come out of here. If you really don't want to deal with all these enemies over here, you don't have to. I'm kind of doing it just to show off that they're here. But if you kind of just grab the red key and then head right back to where the red door is, these guys will never catch up to you. So, also a bunch of Caco demons around here. So as you can see, there was a small monster closet there filled with some interesting enemies. But again, this is probably my favourite part of this level just because it stands out, it's a bit striking and looks pretty interesting. But as we head through the red door here, you'll notice that we are heading into a white cave bit here, and there's a lot of white rock on the wall here, and it kind of contrasts nicely with what we've seen so far. There are a few bony boys in here, so you've got to be really careful coming around the corners here. So yeah, there's a final bony boy there. Now, as we make our way to the exit here, when we go outside, this is a very striking visual. So that at the end is supposed to represent the thing that we saw at the start, the big structure at the start. But as we make our way here, you can see that this is lowered, and this actually leads to the end of the level, and that's the end of Ballistyx. I think what puts this one slightly ahead of Baron's lair, which we were playing last time, is that at least in this one there's a sense of coherency to things. Like, yes, there's a lot of corridors and narrow spaces, But there's a lot of interesting fights that come out of that, because you're fighting Hell Knights up close, you're fighting a bunch of enemies in the dark, and the use of lighting in this level I think really kind of puts it slightly above what we saw in the last level. I'm not saying it's a great level, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of backtracking in this one as well, and I know that that is a bugbear for a lot of people. Personally, I don't mind it. I think this level does a decent job of asking you to explore, but not letting you get too lost. But we must talk about the opening to the PS1 version of this level. Just look how good this looks with the flame skybox on the outside. You cannot tell me that is not impressive. Now as we head inside here, you'll notice that when we head up the stairs here, the middle bit actually doesn't open up. Now, there is a way you can open it up, but to be honest, I'm not going to bother because it's kind of pointless. So we're going to be kind of leaving that shut in this version. You actually have to come back here later on and come up from the inside, which, you know, again, like, little changes like that I don't really appreciate in this. Like, it's kind of pointless. It's just adding steps to a level. And I'm saying all this as we're heading through what is, again, in my opinion, the weakest part of this level, which is the very linear pinky section here. You will notice that the shaders in this version of Doom make it easier to see in the dark, so you can actually see the outlines of the spectres. In the PC version it was actually quite difficult to see in the dark, and that's kind of a theme across this PS1 version of this level. A lot of coloured lighting is used, but also a lot of the shadows have been made less harsh. So we'll talk about that as we kind of make our way through. But again, the layout of this level is by and large the same. Small changes have been made here and there to accommodate for performance, and we'll talk about that as we make our way through. But this area is definitely a bit brighter in my opinion. It's not as dark, so you can kind of see further across the room, which kind of takes a bit from the mysteriousness that the PC version managed to inject into this level. Not by much. And obviously if you were playing this on a CRT TV back in the day, it probably would have looked just as dark. But on my PC screen here, it doesn't look as hard to see, especially compared to the PC version we just saw. Especially this bit. Like, because in the PC version you couldn't really see into the shadows here. You kind of had to wait for the enemies to kind of come close to the light, but in this version it's a bit easier to make out where the enemies are, which kind of steals a bit from the atmosphere of this level. Only slightly, but it does. So you'll notice there that I took out all the enemies. The Mancubus is actually gone here. They didn't bother putting the Mancubus in here, so we get a Hell Knight here, which is a bit of a letdown in my opinion. Yellow door there. Can't cross through yet. We have to come back later on. Let's get rid of you. Obviously we'll be back here later on when this monster closet opens up. So this secret is very much still here. Obviously this is what this room looks like when it's lit up pretty brightly, but again I feel like the decision to kind of make the shadows less prominent in this level have kind of robbed it a bit of its intrigue and mysteriousness. As we kill the shotgunner there, you'll notice at the end the room with the lost souls and the barrels is no longer there, so they've taken out a bit of the window dressing in this one as well. So you can see there is no room with barrels anymore, which is a choice. So we're gonna head up here and we are going to just have a quick nosy around, grab the ammo, and then we're going to head off down this way. Remember, on the other side, a bunch of enemies are going to open up. Now, they have changed the texture over there, so the floor textures and the roof texture is different from what we saw in the PC version. Or if it's not different, then it's definitely a lot brighter. Because it definitely didn't have that look in the PC version. As we make our way in here, it's very much the same story here. Nothing's really been changed in this part of the level. This imp trap here is still very much here. I kind of feel like the imp trap is a bit pointless. Like, you may as well just go the other way, because these imps don't really offer you anything of note. But as we kind of get the normal lighting back here, you can see that the coloured lighting here really does add a bit of that atmosphere back in, which, you know, is really nice to see. Does kind of give it more of an ambient feel, which I appreciate. So we want to get rid of all these enemies here. So we can't grab the rocket through the walls on this one, unfortunately. But we are going to head outside here now. And, oh, wait, actually, let's trigger this and see if we can kill these enemies. So you can see that this triggers before you even enter the teleporter. So you can clear this before you have to come back here later on. Oh dear. So the performance in this area, which obviously you may not be noticing, is quite staggeringly bad. So you can definitely tell that this is chugging this version of the game. I have to say though, despite that, looks amazing. Like, again, lots of atmosphere in this area. You can see there's an imp down there shooting at me. Is that an exit there? Interesting. Didn't even know there was a secret exit on this level. I have no idea how to get to that. The fun thing when I'm playing some of these levels is like there may be little changes like that, and I actually have no idea how to get to them. So I'll have a look at that when I finished up with this level. But you can see I'm just trying to aim at the enemies down below. There's an imp down there somewhere. I think it's right up against the cage. Interesting. Do we get it? I don't really care. I don't want to spend the next 5 minutes trying to target the imps down below. So as we head back here, you can see this is quite a nice area. There's a lot of like nice dark lighting here, and it contrasts nicely with the candle-lit areas such as this. I do think the design of this level is very Marmite, very much love it or hate it, because it's kind of clear this level is very focused on the backtracking aspects. You kind of have to dip into this area here, then go across the level and do stuff over there, and then come back here later to finish this area off. And you know, some people don't like that level design. I don't mind it if it's well executed, and I think here it's just about tolerable in my opinion. So we're back in this brick area here. Just seeing if there's any enemies poking around, which there is. So there should be 2 chain gunners here still. So who's going to come? Oh, that's disappointing. They've taken away the Mancubus from the PC version and replaced it with a single chain gunner, which frankly is insulting, but you know. So we'll take you out. So again, we're just going to take out all the enemies over here. I don't know if they'll have all the enemies that were there, because we haven't seen any Mancubus on this level so far, so I would know it's a Hell Knight. Okay, that was not my smartest move there, using the rocket at point blank like that. Need to grab that health there. And as I mentioned, this area is a lot lighter here, so in the PC version it was quite hard to see in this space, but here it's actually quite easy to see what you're doing and kind of where you're going. So it's a different interpretation of this level for sure. I kind of prefer the PC versions. Even the cold lighting here doesn't really put back in what's taken out, in my opinion, but that's just a personal preference. So as we head inside the red door here, interestingly that's a zombie man in the PC version, so a little subtle change there. Be interesting to see what they put. Okay, so they've gone for the Hell Knights here, which is about equivalent, I guess, to the Bony Boys you'd see here normally. So you can see they got rid of this huge optical illusion room and just replaced it with this very mediocre little sort of cavern area. And the exits come up here. I'm pretty sure we've left some enemies behind, but I'm not really that fussed. We basically got to look at the level as it is. I like this level. I think the PS1 version's a bit weaker than the PC version in this case, which is unfortunate, and I think it's a fun level overall. I think, like, especially if you like backtracking, this is the kind of level that's right up your street. I don't hate this one, but let me know in the comments what you think of Ballistyx. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you think it's one of the better TNT levels?